Welcome to Cameron Reflects, the series where we dig deep into the films that made us laugh, cry, and quietly reevaluate our relationship with the guy across the street who mows his lawn at 9 p.m. Now today's feature is The Burbs, a pitch-black comedy wrapped in perfectly trimmed hedges and middle-class paranoia. Now, we're going way beyond Tom Hanks in boxers and into what this movie really says about community, fear, and belonging, and what happens when your village turns into a mob with binoculars. Now, if you've ever loved a movie so much you quoted it to your dog, or if you've ever felt seen by a film that was technically a comedy but secretly therapy, be sure and hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment with your comfort movie and be sure to share this with your most paranoid neighbor. Because sometimes the real monsters are just emotionally starved suburbanites looking for connection. Now The Burbs, when the monsters are next door and so are the miracles. "I've been blown up, take me to the hospital," said Ray Peterson. We laugh, but beneath that soot-covered punchline lies a truth that's both hilarious and heartbreaking. Sometimes we destroy ourselves trying to protect something we're not even sure is in danger. The Burbs was pitched as a suburban black comedy, a satire about paranoia, nosy neighbors, and the strange rhythms of cul-de-sac life. But in truth, it's much more than that. It's a love letter to small communities, a cautionary tale about suspicion. And if you're really watching, it's a reminder that the people around us, the ones we wave to without thinking, are part of our own ragtag dysfunctional village. Now, let's open the screen door, step out onto the porch, and let's take a closer look. First off, welcome to Mayfield Place, America's anxiety, one lawn at a time. Now, it starts with Ray Peterson, a man on the edge of a nervous breakdown, or maybe just in need of a nap. He's taken a week off work, but instead of relaxing, he spirals. Why? Because something's off next door. The Klopeks have moved in. They don't mow the lawn. They don't talk to anyone. Their basement glows at night, and that's enough for Ray and, well, for most of us, to let imagination take over. The truth, the suburbs were never about comfort. They were about control. And about knowing who's who, what's what, and how long you can leave your trash can at the curb without someone complaining. In the Burbs, this illusion of order crumbles. And in its place, we see what happens when people who are scared, bored, and a little broken go looking for monsters. Second, the village in all its dysfunction. Now, every person on Mayfield Place is their own mess of neuroses, but together, well, they form a perfect microcosm of community. Ray, the reluctant ringleader, desperate for peace, but magnetized toward chaos. Art, the gossipy wildcard who stokes every fire and never shuts up, but will stand by your side when it counts. Mark Rumsfeld, the militaristic neighbor who salutes the mailman and treats the cul-de-sac like a war zone, but has a soft spot buried deep in that camel-covered heart. Carol, Ray's wife, the eye-rolling truth-teller who reminds us that suspicion isn't sexy, it's exhausting. Ricky, the teenager, peeking out from behind his sunglasses, watching it all with glee. He's us, the audience, a front row seat to the madness. The Klopeks, silent and strange, but like all of us, just trying to find a place where they won't be chased out with pitchforks. They bicker, they eavesdrop, they trespass, but deep down, they care. They are, for better or worse, a village. Third, the monster next door is often us. The entire premise hinges on this question. What if the people who don't act like us are dangerous? Now that question fuels gossip. It fuels wars, and in the Burbs, it fuels a neighborhood crusade to expose a family they've never actually spoken to. Ray's journey is the most telling. He starts out just wanting quiet, But suspicion spreads like mold, and soon the quiet becomes unbearable. Because once fear takes root, you don't rest, you investigate. "We're the lunatics," Ray finally screams near the end, the realization crashing over him like the rubble of his neighbor's home. Now, that moment is everything, because it's when we realize the monster isn't the Klopeks. It's our own assumptions, our own need for control, our own fear of the unknown. Now, fourth, the backyard is where redemption lives. And yet, despite the paranoia, the blunders, the accidental bombings of electrical substations, this neighborhood remains intact. Because that's the miracle of a village. It endures. It bends. It bruises. It argues over property lines. But when things go sideways, someone still shows up with a flashlight, a sandwich, or a half-baked plan involving night vision goggles. Ray, Art, Mark. They don't become better people overnight, but they do learn the most important lesson. The person next door is a person. Not a punchline, not a threat, not a ghost behind drawn blinds. A person with fears and flaws and reasons. Now, sometimes that's all it takes to pull a village back together. Number 5, the unsung moments that made us better. Now, let's not forget the quiet heroes in the chaos. Carol, who reminds Ray and us that sometimes peace is found not by solving a mystery, but by sitting still. Ricky, who doesn't intervene much, but offers commentary, compassion, and the occasional slice of pizza when things go to hell. Walter, the reclusive older neighbor everyone thinks is dead but is just in the hospital. His safe return a reminder that maybe we should check in before assuming the worst. The Klopeks, who despite everything are never truly villainized until the final twist, and even then it feels like a punchline more than a punishment. And of course, the street itself, holding all this absurdity, this tenderness, this suspicion and reconciliation without ever breaking. That's what the Burbs captures. The beautiful, chaotic, emotional ecosystem of a neighborhood. A place where people gossip, fall out, overreact, make up, and somehow still bring in your trash cans when you're out of town. Number 6, the comedy that teaches without preaching. Now, the Burbs is funny, ridiculously funny. From Art eating dog food and not realizing it, to Mark standing on his roof with a rifle, to Ray's house literally exploding with him inside. It's absurd, but that's the point. Laughter disarms fear. It gives us space to confront uncomfortable truths without flinching. It lets us see how easily we become the people we mock without making us feel shame. And most importantly, it teaches us that the people we think are crazy are often just hurting, lonely, curious, human. Number 7. So, what do we take with us? Well, when we walk away from the Burbs, maybe we carry a little less judgment. Maybe we look twice before jumping to conclusions. Maybe we knock on a door instead of making assumptions. Maybe we remember that our weird neighbor isn't a villain, he's just someone trying to live quietly too. And maybe, just maybe, we remember that a real village isn't perfect. It's messy, it's nosy, it's chaotic, but it shows up when it counts. It learns from its mistakes, and it keeps laughing even when the lights go out. My final reflection, the porch light is still on. The Burbs doesn't offer a perfect ending because it knows real life doesn't have one. It just keeps going. The dog barks, the mail gets delivered, someone somewhere is burning trash too late at night, and you're still there on your porch, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise on the block you call home. Because you know, deep down, you belong to this mess of people and they belong to you. That's what the Burbs gave us. Not just laughs, belonging. And that, my friends, was The Burbs. A story about paranoia, power tools, and the strange, sacred bond of cul-de-sac community. It reminds us that even when we're losing our minds, trespassing, spying, blowing up power grids, we still need each other. Because behind every set of drawn blinds, there's a story. And maybe, just maybe, it's not murder. Maybe it's just loneliness. Now coming up next on Cameron Reflects, The Princess Bride, true love, sword fights, and why this fairy tale hits harder as adults. Also, we'll look into ice castles, the fragile beauty of dreams, loss, and second chances. We'll also look at Into the Wild, freedom, isolation, and the quiet ache of becoming. Now, if these stories meant something for you, or if you're ready to see them in a whole new light, hit subscribe. Also, drop your favorite movie in the comments and share this with your weirdest neighbor. You know the one. Now, until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep reflecting. Cameron out.